Hey everybody, welcome back to another segment of Bookends. He's Jason. This is our buddy Teaser. I'm Chucky. We're going to dive right into it. I mean, last week, week one of pro football, it was an amazing week. I mean, just the crowds, the atmosphere, the excitement, the energy in the book was crazy. I mean, yay sportsbooks for sure, yay football fans, and yay football as a whole. It was a great week.
Yeah, and Teaser loved it as well because it was yay underdogs. We got a lot of underdogs to come in week one.
Underdogs were 12-4 week one.
One underdog in particular, the Raiders, wasn't good for us, but the rest of the week we saw a lot of upsets that were really good for the book. But the Raiders on Monday night, a lot of tickets, a lot of people cashing their Raider tickets. Kind of the miracle finish that we saw there, combined with the game going over, led to a lot of people cashing their tickets on Tuesday morning.
What's with you Raider bettors? I mean, the number kept dropping. You kept betting them. It's like you guys knew they were going to perform well in their first game with fans. And it was great, though. Neither one of us was at the game. My son was at the game, and he just talked about what an amazing atmosphere in the crowd and Raider Nation and a new black hole. It was pretty exciting. I think you look at the Raiders, though, too, in the over. 12-4 last year. The bettors just figured, hey, this game's going to go over again. Wasn't sure. It kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they're now 13-4 going back to last year, Jay, over. So they've really played well. And this first week, though, unders were 10-6, but that was one of the games that went over.
Yeah, the Raiders, again, wasn't a good game for us. Neither was the Rams. The Sunday night game kind of beat up the Bears. That was another game that the bettors really cashed a lot of tickets on. We did have a couple games that went our way. The Saints, the big upset over the Packers, not playing in New Orleans, a game being shifted to Jacksonville. Line moved even more in favor of the Packers, but the Saints were able to get there for us, which was a good game for us. And then the miracle finish kind of in Detroit, where we saw the San Francisco 49ers up 24 points with 2 minutes to go as a 8-point favorite that went to 8.5 and 9, and Detroit was able to come back and end that game as an 8-point loser, which fortunately for us, a lot of ripped up tickets in that situation.
2 late touchdowns and 2 late 2-point conversions. I mean, it's I'll take it.
I got my Detroit jacket on this morning because I have a feeling we're gonna talk a little Detroit Green Bay coming up this week on Monday night. And
interesting stat on that game though, with ticket counts opposed to money bet, which we'll get into.
We'll need the Lions, I'm sure, again there.
Yep, it was a fun week, guys. Again, it was so much fun seeing everybody come out and have fun. And guests were hooting and hollering, not only in Red Rock, but I know at all of our racing sports books and having a good time. And we're right back at it now. I mean, we've got week 2, Thursday night football here, a big NFC East rival between the Washington football team and the New York Giants. That division, who knows? It's pretty wide open, I would think, at this point. Kind of an interesting stat here that Daniel Jones in his career is 4-0. Against the Washington football team, including winning both games last year. And against the rest of the league in his career, he's 4-19. So this is the one team that he plays really well. They are getting points. This number came down initially. It started to tick back up a little bit. Kind of an interesting matchup, though. And Jones has kind of owned Washington so far in his career.
Well, if he doesn't turn the ball over, he'll give the Giants a chance to win. On the Washington side of things this week, obviously last week Fitzpatrick goes down. Right. They're a home favorite, and essentially almost a pick'em game against the Los Angeles Chargers, which was a really good game back and forth. I think that Chargers defense is much improved over what people expect, and obviously the young offense, young quarterback, and Washington stayed in that game despite the fact that Fitzpatrick went down. And you work a whole offseason, bring in a new quarterback, working the whole new system, and then he goes down and Washington's got to react. And not that Heineke hadn't played, he obviously played in those playoff games, but it wasn't what Washington was planning as they were going into their season opener. So I think that having this week now to know what's going on, knowing that he's going to be the starter, Antonio Gibson didn't have a particularly good game. I think he ran for 90 yards against, like I said, that tough Chargers defense. But I think
Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas, they still have other weapons there as well.
Yeah, but like you said, if Jones cannot turn the ball over, this is a team he's had good success against. But Thursday night, obviously the only game in town, we should see some really good action on the Giants and Washington football team tonight, and we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think that whole division's kind of wide open, and it'll be interesting to see how they play tonight. A lot of pressure, I think, on Daniel Jones, and I think a big question mark there is Saquon Barkley. Can he come back with the short rest? He only played on 48% of the snaps week 1, and now he's got a really short rest. They list him as questionable. I think he does play tonight, just not sure how many reps he'll get or how many carries he'll get.
Well, we said that he didn't think we were going to see that full workload in week 1 as they kind of carry him along. And I know fantasy owners that drafted him in their first round, hoping that he's going to see a much bigger workload tonight as they put him in their lineups and hope that he can do something against the Redskins, the Washington football team.
Yep. You lose. We had a bet. It was just lunch. So, but anyway, this is the first segment. We're going to come back, guys, and we're going to dive into some of the pro football games for week 2.
Locals know the STN Sports App is the most trusted sports betting app in Nevada. They have convenient sign-up locations across Las Vegas, so download the STN Sports App today.
Download and get a bonus up to $500 when you sign up at any of our convenient locations.
Okay, guys, now we're going to jump into some of the games that we kind of like for week 2. One is the Saints and the Carolina Panthers. I mean, the Saints, Jameis Winston, God, only 158 yards, but 5 touchdowns. That's never happened before. He didn't turn the ball over. I think he had the 1 turnover. He looked really good in that game. We know they have a solid defense. They're playing the Carolina Panthers, who also won. I mean, you look at the amount of yards that McCaffrey had week 1. Didn't get into the end zone, but Robbie Anderson and some of their other big receivers, DJ Moore, they have some talent there. But you look at this game, and this is one of the 2 games that the bettors are saying, hey, we love the Saints. Probably the most liability right now of any game is on Carolina, and over 80% of the ticket count right now is on the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen when you embarrass the Green Bay Packers, and that's what the Saints were able to do. So a lot of confidence in Winston, a lot of confidence in that team. Bettors are laying the points on the road here again. Obviously, Carolina, a very, very capable team, got up early on the Jets, weren't able to kind of put them away. So we'll see if that defense can continue to kind of overplay. And Carolina does have the ability to go to McCaffrey, keep Winston off the field, have a couple big series, and stay in this game. But obviously a lot of public money coming in on the Saints.
Yeah, I think with that game too, the Saints got up so early in that game and kind of were dominant. If you're Jameis Winston, you can kind of relax a little bit then. They ran the ball a lot more. Even Kamara was off the field for most of the fourth quarter because they were so dominant. Another game, Buffalo and Miami, a big AFC East matchup. And you look at this matchup, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Buffalo. Everybody talked about Buffalo in the offseason, that they're so close to Kansas City. They may be the favorite to win the Super Bowl. We know they're looking for a new stadium, and everything was about this team taking the next step. They signed Emmanuel Sanders in the offseason, and we were Pittsburgh fans. I mean, Pittsburgh winning outright was a great outcome for us. Miami wins that game, gets the late turnover when Damian Harris fumbles against the Patriots, wins an AFC East matchup. If they can win this game, they now will have beaten in back-to-back weeks the Patriots and the Bills, which is huge for them over the long season. But they're laying Buffalo as well, and this game is a road favorite with close to 80% of the tickets on the Bills.
Yeah, and again, you talked about a team that was expected to be an AFC favorite and potentially a Super Bowl team that loses in week 1. Josh Allen, that great offense, to be able to come back in week 2, make the trip down to Miami and get a win here. A huge win for the Dolphins to go on the road to the Patriots and get that win. This is a spot, you talk about Buffalo, if they start off 0-2 and the Dolphins are 2-0, what kind of hole they're at in the division. But you are seeing a road favor here in Buffalo with a lot of money on Buffalo. Could be another spot if we get another teasers. I can hear them right now. The dogs are barking as you get these home dogs. Right. This is that situation that bettors love to look for those home dogs.
I think there's a lot of pressure on the Bills too. It kind of heard some of the rumblings about Josh Allen maybe regressing this year, and they went out and got Emmanuel Sanders, and they have the tools. And it's only one game, but there was a few times where Diggs was wide open deep. Gabriel Davis, he overthrew him in that game, which might have changed the complexion or the outcome of that game. So we'll see if he bounces back.
Will Fuller will make his appearance for the Dolphins. He was suspended in week 1, so they add another dangerous receiver to that Dolphin receiving core as well.
As good as Josh Allen was last year, he had 8 games where his passer rating was at what it was against the Steelers or below that. So it's not like he comes out every week and throws 5 touchdown passes. So you do get the good and the bad with him from week to week, but I think they really need to win this game because it's going to be hot, muggy in Miami. It's a big game, I think, for the Bills.
The one big thing for Josh Allen is he doesn't have to worry about T.J. Watt rushing him this week. So
or any of the Steelers defenders, right?
He'll maybe breathe a little bit easier on his trip down to South Beach.
Right. The next game we're going to touch on is the 49ers and the Eagles. Both teams win their opener. Niners had the big lead, let Detroit get back in it, which I love the jacket. I mean, it makes it's good for us. This is back-to-back weeks that Detroit is the Niners are one of the top 3 kind of ticket count getters. So clearly the public likes this team. They're one of the teams they bet to win the Super Bowl. We talked about that on previous shows. I thought Jalen Hurts played really well for Philadelphia. He looks comfortable in Sirianni's offense. Niners back-to-back road games where they're road favorites. But week 3, just something to think about, is after this game, they play on prime time week 3 against the Green Bay Packers. So you just wonder a little bit if it's a look-pass game here and if there's some value with the Eagles getting more than 3 points.
Yeah, I didn't know that we were jumping into the road favorite conundrum here. Another one where really a surprise kind of out of San Francisco in that we see Mostert go down early in that Lion game, and Elijah Mitchell makes the appearance
Trey Sermon.
as the running back that comes in there when we were all expecting Trey Sermon to be second kind of on that depth chart, if not second to be 1A and 1B with Mostert. And so a surprise there. Ayuk didn't really perform well and didn't get a lot of snaps there as well. So the Niners, have some offensive weapon question marks there. Obviously, Kittle and Deebo Samuel went absolutely crazy. But this Eagle team, don't really know who they are. They were, at Atlanta, a dog to Atlanta, went and absolutely just destroyed the Falcons, embarrassed the Falcons. Now
Falcons might not be very good.
Yeah, I mean, they could be the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. So we'll see if this Eagle team is able to stand up. But as another home dog, you've got to maybe take a chance here. Like you said, maybe the Niners are looking ahead and are questioning some of their offensive talent.
I'm going to give kudos, though, to Kyle Shanahan. I mean, we're not in the locker room, and we don't know exactly what happens. But, you heard so much kind of publicity about that team in the offseason with Trey Sermon being, like 1 and 1A with Mostert and Ayuk and Samuel and Kittle. And it's obvious that if you're not playing well or he doesn't think that you're ready, he's going to move on, and it's next guy up. We see so many teams that'll play guys where we're like, God, why isn't that next guy playing for whatever reason? I mean, we see it with the Bears, for an example. Maybe not for any reason that we just think it should be Fields, but I like Shanahan that he goes ahead and makes that move. He even brought Trey Lance in early in that game, and he threw a touchdown pass.
Yep.
So
on the Eagles side, one of the things was Devonta Smith.
Right.
Had a really, really good game, and going back to kind of all of those rookie receivers, Waddle scores a touchdown, Devonta Smith scores a touchdown, Jamar Chase scores a touchdown. So we saw some of those young receivers and wondering how they were going to indoctrinate themselves to the NFL, and obviously week one they all go out and score touchdowns.
It's a really good point because we kind of talked about that in the offseason, that would have been a fun prop to see if they would have all scored a touchdown in week one, and they all did. So I think they're all good, talented young receivers. In this first segment, too, we're gonna finish up with the Las Vegas Raiders against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, both teams come away with wins when they were underdogs. We talked about the Steelers with their big win in Buffalo. Vegas wins at home and that miracle kind of finish against the Ravens. 54% of the ticket count right now is on Vegas. And I'm just going to backtrack. When we did the segment last week, it was, a week ago prior to the kickoff of the game, 58% of the tickets were on the Ravens. But by the time we got to Monday night, that number was between 65 and 70% of the tickets on the Raiders. It's slow right now on the Raiders, a little bit favorite, but the Raiders are banged up. They've got a lot of injuries. They lose McCoy for the season. They're banged up on the offensive line. We know Jacobs is a little bit hurt. They're going up against a Steeler defense that is going to be in Carr's face the entire game. Number has come down a full point from where we posted it, and after the Raiders won on Monday night. Where do you think this number goes, Jay?
Well, I think that, again, that Raider Nation, and it's kind of like the Golden Knights when we look at hockey, sitting here in the Las Vegas Valley. I think that I saw an article that, around the country, 88% of the tickets on Monday night were on the Ravens. However, we were in a reverse situation. I think we were north of 70% of our tickets on the Raiders. So I think we're kind of going to be in a situation where we're always going to see that Raider money. It's already kind of showed itself. We're already seeing Raider tickets here against the Steelers. I think this is personally a terrible, terrible spot for the Raiders. You talked about the injuries. Good is another one on the offensive line that they're missing. But I think this team, after that Monday night win, they went out and enjoyed Las Vegas. I think there was a Raider party on Monday night, and I think that
I know Raider Nation was partying Monday night.
They dragged themselves into the locker, back into the workout on Tuesday, and this is not a friendly place to go visit. This Steeler team is, Ben Roethlisberger, last hurrah. They've got a ton of receivers that he can throw the ball to kind of exploit that secondary, and that was the one thing the Ravens...
You have to say all three of their names.
No, I'm not even going into the Schuster, the Juju Smith-Schuster.
He got it. We're all good.
But they've got, the Ravens were missing a lot of their pieces on the receiving core, and Marquise Brown had a good game. Mark Andrews dropped some key balls, but the Ravens were running the football and weren't able to exploit what we think is the worst part of the Raiders' defense, which is their secondary. The Steelers do have those weapons to exploit that
Schuster,
secondary.
Johnson, and Claypool are awfully good.
Yeah, and when the Ravens were blitzing, they were really getting to Carr and forcing those quick passes. So, again, that Steeler defensive front and T.J. Watt, who we talked about, I think are going to cause the Raiders a lot of problems this week. we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Raiders can stay in the game, but I think this is just from a spot standpoint, this is a really bad spot in their schedule.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see, and I agree with you, is that with Raider Nation and the way that, our locals here really back the Raiders in week 1, they have that big win. I'm anxious to see by the time this game kicks what the money is on the game and what the ticket count is, especially after the Raiders looking so good week 1. Last year we saw it in some home games, not so much in road games, but we'll see what happens in game 2.
And what about our guy Darren Waller, though? I mean, we've talked about it for several weeks.
Up, yep.
10 catches on 19 targets. I don't know when the last time a receiver had 19 targets, but he was all over the field on Monday
night. He had
night.
A couple of drops.
Yeah, but I think, again, we talked about Travis Kelce being the number 1 tight end in football. I really think by the end of this season, you're going to be changing that tune to Darren Waller as the number 1 tight end.
And they both looked good week 1. We'll be right back. We're going to jump into some more games in segment 2.
Locals, here's how easy it is to start betting on games with the STN Sports App. They have sign-up locations across Las Vegas, so no matter where you are, you're less than 5 minutes away from getting started. So download the STN Sports App today.
Download and get a bonus up to $500 when you sign up at any of our convenient locations.
Okay, we're back. We're going to jump into segment 2 of pro football. And I think this next game for me is a product of what happened week 1. It's Tennessee and Seattle. Everybody had such high expectations for Tennessee. They were so good over the last couple of years. We know about Derrick Henry. They add Julio Jones with A.J. Brown and Tannehill. God, that offense looks dynamic. They didn't play well offensively. The Cardinals were in the backfield all day, especially Jones with 5 sacks against Tannehill. And they're playing Seattle, in Seattle. Seattle went into Indianapolis. We knew there was some question marks about would Wentz play or not. They looked awesome in that game. I mean, Russell Wilson had wide receivers running free all day. Chris Carson looked great. And I think this number, seeing it kind of ticking up closer to 6, is a product of what happened in week 1. And you're seeing 75% of the tickets so far on the Seahawks at this point.
Yeah, Seattle did what they were supposed to do against Indianapolis. Again, they were heavily bet in week 1 and were able to do so. They cashed a lot of tickets for people. A lot of reliability, a lot of people that play Russell Wilson. You saw Tyler Lockett have another good game. Metcalf, Carson. They've got all the offensive weapons. Right. They kind of are the older version of the Cardinals.
Right.
I mean, Russell Wilson is an older version of a Kyler Murray, so Tennessee really struggled to stop him. He looked absolutely dynamic running all over the field. Russell Wilson has those same capabilities, so Tennessee's really got to clean something up on the defense side really quick here to be able to stay in this game. They didn't perform well offensively. We didn't see the Derrick Henry with the big game. Julio Jones kind of had a dud of a first game, took some really bad penalty that he's kind of getting chastised
Henry got
for.
stopped inside the 5 twice.
Tennessee is a good team.
Agreed.
Tennessee is going to be a playoff team in that AFC. I'll be shocked if they don't get there. And so that's why this, number 5.5, 6, Tennessee still has the ability to stay in this game. They're just going to have to clean some stuff up on the backside.
It was interesting. A lot of people have asked me about some of the teams, and we've talked about it, and there seems to be such an overreaction. It really is only week 1. I mean, it really means very little. I mean, there's a whole extra week this year. There's 17 games that are played. So it's only week 1. We know there was teams that were disappointing, and that's part of it. In the next game we're going to jump on.
And Arizona might be a lot better
right.
than we thought they were. I mean, Jones was awesome, but was that getting J.J. Watt on the other side? Is that what, kind of freed him up? And those weapons that Arizona had with Adam Moore and Christian Kirk, I mean, they're a dynamic offense. And once Tennessee got down and then had the bad turnover, that kind of takes their bread and butter of the play action and the running game away, and they kind of just had to play from behind, which isn't what they do best.
And that NFC West is really good. I mean, you look at the 4 teams there. I mean, they are just a talented bunch. They all came away with wins. It's going to be fun watching that division. They all can't make the playoffs, but it's going to be fun to see how that division kind of unfolds. Next, we're going to jump on the Sunday night game. It's Kansas City and Baltimore. I think this, too, is a little bit of a product of what we saw last week. KC came back once again down double digits. They're not a cover darling, but they certainly are a win darling. They're a small road favorite here again. The highest ticket count on any game, or right up there, is Kansas City against Baltimore. Number continues to tick up a little bit. Interesting stat here. In their short careers, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes is 3-0 against Lamar Jackson. I think it's a big game for Baltimore because if they win here, they can slip, like we talked about Buffalo, to 0-2.
Well, this game prior to the Monday night loss for the Ravens, the Chiefs were under a field goal favorite. And after the Ravens lost Monday night,
again,
the Chiefs
a product of what we saw.
Yeah, Chiefs have now gone over a field goal favorite. Obviously, with them coming back against the Browns and the Ravens losing to the Raiders has caused that. When we said this last week, this was a look ahead spot for the Ravens. This is a game that they're really looking for, kind of put themselves up against, and it'll be a big rebound spot for them to come back. But I just don't know if they have the tools to keep up with this Mahomes offense. I mean, we saw the Browns jump out to that huge lead, look like they're really dominating, and then Tyreek Hill on a long bomb, Kelsey goes down, and that's every given week with this Kansas City Chiefs team. They have the ability to score every time that they touch the football.
There's no panic when they're down double digits. I mean, we've seen it now in playoff games, and they'll get the job done when they have to.
With that being said, though, the Ravens were the dominant team on the field on Monday night. I mean, the turnovers were really, really costly. A bad 4th and 1 play right before the half where they had a chance to go up essentially 21-7 before halftime. They don't get it. Raiders come back down and score a field goal to make it 14-10. That kind of changed the complexion of the game. Like I said, the Lamar Jackson fumbles really cost them, and then some of the plays on the back end, some drop passes. I think we'll see a different Ravens team. I think
do too.
We're going to hope we need to see a different Ravens team because, like you said, all the money's coming in on the Chiefs here.
Yeah, and again, it's a big game for them. They could fall to 0-2. I skipped a game, and I apologize. It's Dallas and the Chargers. I think you look at this game, too, and the highest ticket count of any game is on the Dallas Cowboys, that they are loading up on the ticket count. However, there's more money bet on the Chargers. So it's kind of a contrast of two right now, a little bit of Joes versus pros, where you see just the general public likes the Cowboys in this game. They looked good against Tampa. They've had the extra time to prepare. And the Chargers is what's getting a little bit more sophisticated or sharp money now. DeMarcus Lawrence is out for the Cowboys. That could be a product of this game going up. Both teams have dynamic offenses. I think the total's around 55.5. I don't know how this game stays under with these two teams, but a lot of tickets right now on the Dallas Cowboys. But again, money favors the Chargers.
I don't know how any Cowboys games at this point in time we look to stay the under. I mean, again, an incredible performance on Thursday, playing at Tampa in that scenario. Dak Prescott, his first game back, they were absolutely fantastic. Again, didn't run the football effectively with Ezekiel Elliott, didn't get many chances to run the football as they were slinging it around all over the place, but did really, really well to score points at Tampa. Stayed in that game due to the late fumble, that kind of with Godwin's fumble. Otherwise, we could, Tampa probably covers that game. Dallas gets the extra rest. Makes the trips to Los Angeles after they played Washington. Again, Chargers got a little bit of a gift maybe with Fitzpatrick going down, able to steal the win out there in Washington. But I think this defense for the Chargers is very underrated. I think they're going to be a very good defense. I think they're going to be a turnover-prone
Don't forget their coach
defense.
Came from the Rams. He was on the Bears and then the Rams defensive coordinator the last couple of years, Daly. So
they jump a lot of routes.
Defensive-minded coach.
They jump a lot of routes. They're aggressive on the back end, trying to go after those picks. So I think that's where this game is going to be decided. If Dallas is able to be kind of turnover free and not make mistakes, they're going to stay in the game. If they make a couple of turnovers and give Herbert and that offense good field position, they're going to find themselves in trouble.
Kind of quirky schedule that both Dallas and San Francisco start with road games, and you look at Chicago, they never play back-to-back games either at home or on the road. Every game is alternated throughout the course of the year. So from a consistency standpoint, I guess just the way the schedule worked out, but a couple of quirky facts there. Now we're going to look at the Monday night game, and it's Detroit and Green Bay. You've got your Detroit colors on. We won't need teaser to bark. We will need teaser to roar like a lion on Monday night because we're going to need that side. However, at this point, 52% of the tickets are on Detroit, but you've started to see this number come up a little bit. So Packers did not play good. LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers don't seem to be on the same page. After the game, LaFleur was quoted as saying, it was embarrassing. Rodgers said, I wouldn't say that. It's just one game. We talked about it off air a few years ago. They got off to a bad start. He said, don't panic. They ended up winning the division and won a couple of playoff games. But anyway, I think you look at LaFleur and Rodgers, like him or not, they get along or not, Rodgers last year or not, since 2019, after a loss, they're 6-0. They play on primetime on Monday Night Football, a game they should win because Week 3 they travel again on primetime to play at San Francisco. So it's a big game for both teams, of course, but do the Lions have enough to give us a backdoor cover if we need it again on Monday night?
Well, we're definitely going to be cheering for it. Like I said, that money count, that ticket count is definitely going to flip towards the Packers. I think that people are going to look for them to redeem themselves after the poor performance down in Jacksonville against the Saints. I think that there's a bounce-back situation here. Obviously, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Rodgers, Scantling, none of them played particularly well.
Come in your fantasy team, you're not very happy.
Some people have them on their fantasy
yeah, we
team.
both do.
I think this is an Aaron big game, and I don't mean Aaron Rodgers. I think this is a Aaron Jones big time performance. I think that we saw Elijah Mitchell have a really good game for the Niners, being able to run on the Lions. I think that the Packers will lean on Aaron Jones, who didn't get obviously a lot of carries with the fact that they were down to the Saints almost immediately. I think this is one of those where you feed the running back. He has an absolutely huge games, and obviously Rodgers is going to throw in a touchdown or two here and there. Their defense was bad. You talked about Winston throwing 5 touchdown passes on 148 yards. The best part about the Lions was the fight. The team was down 24 points. They didn't put their heads in the sand. They didn't pout. They fought back. And when you're
if you were a Niner bettor last week, you were stunned. There's only 6 minutes to go. I think 6:48 when they were down 41-17.
With an over a 10-point underdog, if you can get a team that's going to fight like that, even when you're down, 2 touchdowns, if they've got to fight, you've got a chance to cover. So I think that's what we're going to be looking for out of the Lions this week, is to keep that fight and maybe get that backdoor cover for us.
And I'm clearly not saying I'm hitting the panic button with Green Bay yet. I still think they're one of the best teams in the NFC. And you look at the division they play in. I mean, you can make a case it's the weakest division in football. I mean, all 4 teams lost. So I think they'll still win that division. But you just wonder about the whole kind of offseason and the soap opera, and all the attention was really about Rodgers and would he stay? Would they deal him? What ultimately was going to happen, more than about football. And then they come out and they lay an egg week 1, and you just wonder, what's going to happen over the course of the season. I doubt he gets traded during the season, unless something really bad happens before the trade deadline. But this, I think, still will be his last year in Green Bay.
If there's ever a team to get healthy against, the Detroit Lions fit that mold.
At least you wore your jacket. So remember, teaser, roar, no bark, roar. We'll be back just in a minute to touch on some of the key college games this week, guys.
Locals know the STN Sports App is the most trusted sports betting app in Nevada. They have convenient sign-up locations across Las Vegas, so download the STN Sports App today.
Download and get a bonus up to $500 when you sign up at any of our convenient locations.
So we're back again for our final segment, college football and the good, the bad, and the ugly. But before we jump into college, we want to touch on Last Man Standing, our signature contest. We promoted it for the last few months. We talked about it. In the pro contest, Jay, we had 62-41 in it. There's only 29-68 left. 47.5%. Over a 50% drop-off week 1. And in college, we had 30-75, only 14-22 left. 46.2% left. I can't remember ever week 1 seeing over 50% drop off in both pro and college.
Well, you talked about the underdogs went 12-4.
12-4.
So I mean that lends itself to people that are getting in the contest, playing the favorites, playing the good teams, and when those underdogs come in, tends to knock a lot of people out. And we saw on the college side, we saw Ohio State go down to Oregon, and some of the other big teams that didn't cover. So you kind of knock some people out there, and so a week 1 kind of punch in the mouth. So if you're still alive,
you're in great shape because you're up against so many few guests right now.
And we've got the bonus that's out there that if you can win both the college and pro contest, both, you got that $750,000 bonus. So this bodes well for somebody that might have picks alive in both contests. And we still have the up to $500 10% bonus on all new signups on the STN Sports app. So again, another great promotion that we've got out there. If you don't have the app, I don't know why you don't have the app by now. But if you don't have the app, make sure you get the app this week. Get y'all set up for the great baseball races we've got coming down the line. And again, a full slate of college and pro football with some great UFC. Absolutely no reason to not have the app.
Dependable, reliable, get the app, guys. So it really does bring the sportsbook to you. We're going to jump into college football a little bit. There's a couple of good games this weekend. I think it's a better slate than last weekend. I think there was only 3 games that were kind of those marquee games we talked about. Cincinnati and Indiana. I mean, you look at Cincinnati now, they're up to number 8 in the country. They're 2-0. Indiana, Penix has played a little bit better after coming back from that bad injury last year. But I like the Cincinnati team a lot, and they're a small road favorite against Indiana.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. Again, traveling on the road to Indiana. This is a big spot for Luke Fickell and Cincinnati. Cincinnati. If they can win this game at a Big Ten school, they have a bye week next week, and then the week after that, they play Notre Dame. Ritter has been putting up huge numbers against some of the soft teams that they're playing, putting himself into that Heisman Trophy discussion. Maybe a little bit of a distraction here this week as USC fires Helton. Luke Fickell's a name that's out there. Obviously, a guy that coached previously at Ohio State, struggled there, and has now really taken this Cincinnati program to a different level. So this is a big, big game for them. And Indiana does have the ability to pull an upset here, though.
Yeah, I think they did last year. We saw it last year with Penix, some of the big games. So another game is with two ranked teams, Bama and Florida. Bama ranked number 1, Florida ranked number 11. Both teams are 2-0. It almost seems like when you talk about Bama only being a 2-touchdown favorite, it's like, even as we talked about the numbers, we were going through it, God, that's all they are? They just seem to roll over these teams. And looking at that number in the first half, it just seems light. This Bama team can it seems like they can pick their score. This will be their toughest test to date, of course, but they're a pretty big favorite in this game, over 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, you watch them and the eye test of, man, they are so fast and they're so big, but Miami was really no good. Miami struggled against Appalachian State and Mercer. We can't even count that as a football program and a football game when they have to play Alabama. Florida's got the kind of two-headed monster potential at quarterback with a little bit of a controversy there. Both guys are going to play. Going down to the Swamp, obviously, we've talked about the home field advantage is back in college football as you see all these fans in the stadiums. That place is going to be absolutely incredible. They're going to be going nuts there. They need to stay in the game early.
I thought you were going to say something else. So
they need to stay in the game right away to keep that fan base interested. If they get down right away, it's going to spell trouble. But Florida, if they can stay in the game quick early, they might have a chance.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching that game, too. Again, Bama's over a 2-touchdown favorite. Another interesting game is Arizona State and BYU. I mean, you look at BYU, 2-0 right now. The way they played against Utah, I mean, that long drought against Utah, they hadn't won a game. Just the crowd, the atmosphere there, it was crazy. It was fun to watch. It was a game that we needed BYU that night. But they're a really good team now. They've kind of snuck into the top 25. They're going to be playing in a bigger conference soon. So I think they're a fun football team to watch, and they're a team that I think this is a big game for them. They play against Arizona State and Herm Edwards. We love the phrase, we play to win the game, and BYU is a small favorite at home in this game.
Yeah, and we targeted this one because it's one of the late games on the schedule, 7:15, 7:30 start. Right. Kind of those last 5 games of the day, and it really has become a big game. Two 2-0 teams. Utah pulls not an upset. They were a pretty big favorite over Arizona, but pulls the major upset last week at home against Utah in a game that they normally don't match up in really well. Utah has owned them. So to be able to come and beat Utah, the spirits have to be super high there. Hall, the young quarterback who's replacing.
He's fun to watch. Yeah. He's a really talented kid.
Running all over the place. Arizona State has typically struggled to stop a running game. BYU doesn't have a loaded running back committee, but Hall can really run the ball to where if they're able to run the ball on Arizona State, this should be a good spot for BYU. And again, if that fan base comes back and has the energy that they had last week against Utah, boy, that's going to be a big home field advantage for BYU.
Couldn't agree more. Last one, we have 2 more to touch on. One is Iowa State and UNLV. Iowa State, a huge road favorite. We have to touch on
Iowa State and UNLV.
We do. I mean, Iowa State comes off that disappointing loss to Iowa. I mean, they were at home. They were the higher-ranked team, and they get beat again by Iowa. They just can't seem to get past the Hawkeyes. They're a huge favorite in this game against UNLV.
Well, Iowa State struggled in their opening game against Northern Iowa, only won 16-10. Really laid an egg against Iowa. I think they turned the ball over 4 times against the Hawkeyes.
They were the favorite, though,
in a favorite game. And Brock Purdy, who was a Heisman hopeful, a guy that I think I actually talked about really, really liking because I thought this offense was going to be very, very dynamic and had a bunch of tools for him to be able to go out in sports. Actually gets benched in the Iowa game. They've gone back to him. Matt Campbell says he will be the starter here against UNLV. Right. And much like talking about a team that can get healthy by playing the Lions, and that the Packers have a rough start against the Saints and get the Lions this week to get healthy. If there's ever a time where Iowa State needed a team to get healthy against, UNLV is that team, and that's why we see them over a 30-point favorite. And we should see
that number ticking up.
Should see Breece Hall and Purdy be able to have a pretty good game.
Right.
We'll see if UNLV this new Allegiant Stadium. We'll see if they can put some points on the board.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. The last one we're going to touch on is Auburn and Penn State, 2 teams also also ranked in the top 25. Auburn's 2-0. In both those games, they scored over 60 points. I don't think they're scoring over 60 at Happy Valley, but that offense has been pretty explosive so far with their young quarterback.
Yeah, and this is going to be the whiteout game at Penn State,
Right.
so you're going to see, again, talking about the new home field advantage coming back after the COVID year. Penn State pulls the major upset in week one, being able to win at Wisconsin. This game is going to kind of decide where both of these kind of programs go this year. The winner of this game, is going to really kind of take a leapfrog in where they're going to stand. Interesting tidbit here. This is the first time that Auburn has ever played at a Big Ten school. In the history of Auburn, how is that possible? The first time they're making a trip to the Big Ten, so those people in Happy Valley hope to kind of make Bo Nix struggle on the road. Right. He hasn't played particularly well in his career at Auburn on the road, and this Penn State defense is really, really good, so it could struggle there. Sean Clifford on the other side, Auburn, should be fast. That SEC, he's going to have to play well. I think this could be an ugly game, and one game that we didn't add to our chart, but another game that I think is huge home field advantage that I think is going to be an ugly game to watch with two offenses that aren't real good and two defenses that are really, really good is in Morgantown, West Virginia,
right,
where we're going to see Virginia Tech go to West Virginia. I think that you're going to see a crazy crowd there as well. I think that the West Virginia kind of maybe upset that that's a noon start time in West Virginia, 9 a.m. our start time. If that game would have been a 5 o'clock game, it could be all heck breaking loose there in West Virginia. But I think that could be a really interesting game, really a defensive game. But again, setting the tone there for what's going on in those conferences.
Yeah, I think we've seen both in college and pro football, just that ratings have been through the roof. In some of these big games, just the crowd, the atmosphere. It makes me want to go back to school and be able to attend one of those games.
I just think from
a
handicapping standpoint and a betting standpoint, the COVID year where maybe that home field advantage wasn't there. You have to remember college football fans are back, and it is tough to go and play on the road in college football. Right. So take that into account.
Yeah. So we kind of went through a lot of the pro games. We touched on the contests and things, looked at the college, and now we're going to go back to our favorite segment that we like to end it with, and that is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can hear that whistle in the background, right, John? So you want to touch on the good first?
The good. I'm going to get out of football and go back to baseball to talk about the good. And the good is the pennant races. The wild card race is absolutely fantastic in baseball. We've seen some teams really jump out the leads with obviously the way Tampa's playing and the San Francisco Giants and the Dodgers, but those wild card races where in the American League we've got the Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Yankees. I think as we actually sit today, all three of them are tied in the wild card. And then the National League, we've seen the St. Louis Cardinals come out of nowhere to now be in the wild card. I think they're actually in the lead in the wild card. And we've got San Diego and Cincinnati just outside. So
San Diego has a brutal schedule to finish.
We've got about 2 weeks left to go, maybe a little bit more than that. But these races to the wild card are absolutely fantastic, and we're still seeing a lot of baseball action. We've still got a lot of baseball props out there. So while we're all looking and talking about football and how to make money in football and make your bets in football, the baseball has really, really been good this, from a wild card standpoint.
Yeah, and the matchups have been great. Can't wait for the postseason this year. The bad, I'm going to go back to college football and Jacksonville State and Florida State. That Florida State gave up what was not even a Hail Mary to end the game. They didn't even have 8 guys back. I mean, kind of that bomb that they gave up to lose to Jacksonville State to me is pretty bad. So
I'll give you another bad. USC.
Right.
Obviously, they make the coaching change and get Helton out of there, but Stanford lost their opening week at Kansas State. And then they went out there and really beat USC. I mean, they were never out of the game. They were the better team on the field the whole time. Beat USC as an 18-point underdog that Stanford was. So, that's why he gets fired. And so a bad to the USC Trojans.
Right. I'm going to touch on the ugly now, and it kind of warms my heart that it's Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers with us both being from Chicago and Bear fans. But here's kind of an interesting stat, quarterback rating. We hear them talk about it all the time on TV, a quarterback rating. So if a quarterback takes the snap, and every single time he takes the snap, he just bullets the ball into the dirt, his quarterback rating is 39.6, just right into the dirt. Aaron Rodgers' quarterback rating was 32.8. that game against the Saints. So for me, that's pretty ugly, gang. Yet he said it was an embarrassing performance. We'll see how he bounces back this week. Don't forget, guys, get signed up for STN Sports. Dependable, reliable, really does bring the sports book to the palm of your hand. It's a big weekend, big game tonight. Anything you want to finish it with?
No, just get in the book. This is the time of year. This is that great time of year. You guys are loaded with your pockets with all the Raiders cash, the Raider money that everybody had. So get back in and enjoy this week of college and pro football.
Remember what we said. I mean, he's Jason. This is Teaser. We're not hoping that he barks Monday. We're hoping that he roars. I'm Chucky. We'll see you guys next week on Bookends.